We are live here on Chicago Bears Now on YouTube and on Rumble. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Today's live show presented by Manscaped. If you want the best men's grooming products on the planet, go to manscaped.com. Use promo code BEARS20. That'll get you 20% off plus free shipping. All right, let's get the live chat going. Lots of stuff going on. Can't even hit it all as Minicamp news and notes are still coming in, but we're going to cover as much of it as we can, plus some other rumors. Shout out your city. Let us know where you're watching from, and we'll get some shout-outs going, and we'll get this party going as well throughout the shows. We're going to be live on call-in after YouTube also. Stay tuned for that. Toledo from Tyler. Chirac says, Harrison slimming down. I'm working at it, trying. RJ says Wisconsin. Appreciate that, Ciroc there. Jeremy says Seattle. Mount Prospect from Phillip. Toledo from Tyler. We got Eldridge, Iowa from J-Bowl. We got Leeds listening at work. What's good, Leeds? It's close to Leans. Bakersfield, California from Bryce. We got Ciroc in Chicago. Houston from RL. Peachtree City. Wasim, you know what? You get the comment of the day. That's good stuff. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but that's how I took it. Monty says Dallas. We got John in Wisconsin, Scott in Anderson. We got North Liberty, Iowa. The new Matt and Ryan is going to bail Bustin Fields, RJ says. Well, I guess we have someone joining the Sangray Kim train. Jacob says Las Cruces, Joseph in Chattanooga. We got Shaquille in Evergreen Park, Illinois. Fort Wayne, Indiana from Denise. Frankfort, Illinois from Spirit. Salina, California from Malcolm as well. Continue to shout out your city. Let us know where you guys are watching from. All right, live poll question of the day. Who or will Robert Quinn get traded? Type T for trade as in yes. Type K for keep. The Bears will keep him. 73% are saying yes, type in their T's. That's how y'all are voting on the live poll. Vote on the live poll. Comment in the live chat. What do you guys think is going to happen? Tyler says keep. Spirit says trade. Danger, Georgia. Philip all saying trade. The Gabe says trade. So does Big Road. DeJuan, Jacob, Danger. Josh, Danger. Kyle says keep. Midway says trade. Trade. He's too old. Alex says trade. Trevon says trade. So does Chris, Mark, Malcolm, Trevon. A lot of you guys are saying trade right now, and I get it. I get it. Can't really blame you on that front. Rick says keep. Scott says trade. We got, let's see, trade for Shane Falco. That's good. That's good stuff. That is good stuff. I don't know. The odds definitely went up today, right? I think there's a pretty decent chance he'll get traded as he has not shown up to minicamp. Matt Eberflus said they hoped he would be there, so it was not an excused absence. So that's going to ramp up. Those trade rumors are not going away. Does Justin Fields have enough around him? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Let us know in the comments. Light up the chat. Does Justin Fields have enough around him? Simple yes or no answer. I don't think he does on the offensive line. They could certainly get better at receiver, but I do understand not overpaying there, but they got to get better on the O-line. Philip says no. Trevon says yes. Danger, no. David, no. The Gabe says maybe. Trevon, yes. Michael, no. Reynoso, no. RJ Kingshark, no. Danger, no. Georgia Rebel, no. Richard, no. Mark says yes. Top Shotta says no. Should be Coop. Message him. I'm not seeing him in there. Danger says no. L2 says no. We got Carlos saying no. Adam saying no. Not yet from JF. Lead says no. Need a line. Fair. Right guard and one receiver. I think if you added those two things, you'd feel a lot better, right? One more veteran receiver, a legitimate right guard. Yeah, I think those two things would absolutely help quite a bit. All right, who's the better quarterback? Jimmy Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield, who both are connected to trade rumors. There's some buzz that they could get released. I'm just curious, want to gauge the audience. Who's the better quarterback? I want to know. Type JG for Jimmy G, BM for Baker Mayfield. Like, who would you rather have if you had to pick one guy? Tyler Smith says Jimmy Garoppolo, Georgia says Baker Mayfield. Spirit of 76 says Jimmy G. Midway Card says Baker. And Trench says Baker. Chris says Baker. Chris Ashford says Jimmy G. L2 says Jimmy G. It seems pretty split in there. BM from Damon. We got Bryce Long saying Baker Mayfield. Maybe a few more Bakers. Coach Nagy saying Jimmy G is way hotter. Okay, Coach. Finley says Jimmy G. We got RJ saying Baker Mayfield. Jimmy G, better leader, better quarterback. John says Baker Mayfield. Scott says Jimmy Garoppolo. Pretty split in the chat. All right, name a free agent that would start for the Bears. How about any right guard available? You can't tell me Sam Mustipher and Dakota Dozier, who got injured today, we'll talk about that, are better options than some of the free agents. So name a free agent at any position that would start for the Bears. I want to know. J.C. Treader. What's up, Marsh? Hey, come on. We got Marsh in the house. You guys have seen him on our watch parties before, taking some shots. Let's ride.
Sub for Bears dubs, baby.
He started that. Sub for Bears dubs. You heard the man. Let's ride.
FGB.
Yes, FGB. Get the FGBs going. You guys know what the deal is. Chris says FGB. Let's ride. Let's freaking ride, Marsh. Someone says Ryan, Kyle Long, excuse me. Julio Jones, Will Fuller, Odell. We got, here come the FGBs, Marsh. Sherrock, Chris, Raleigh, Tyler, Malcolm, Phillip, Damon, Scott, Sherrock. We got Raleigh, Trevon, Wins Beyond, Denise, Adam, Chris. Who cares about the question we asked at first? Just get the FGBs going. Victor says FGB. Raleigh says FGB. Phillip in the chat. There goes Marsh. Let's ride. Get the FGBs going for Marsh. As he says, thanks for Evan Neal as well. All right. All in good fun. Like the video if you love the Bears. Let's get to 100 likes before we get into today's show. Get a few more FGB shout-outs here, but like the video. Chris says FGB. JF says FGB. Paleo says FGB. Chris, Desmond, Peanut, all saying FGB. FGB. Ronnie says FGB for life. We have 61 likes. We need to get to 100. These are rookie numbers. Come on. Danger says FGB. FAR from Victor saying F Aaron Rodgers. Oh, I know what it means, Victor. I might be asking you guys to say that later. Stay tuned. Danger saying FGB. We're at 69 likes. Tom Downey just said, 73 likes. Steven says FGB. FDET. Is Don Burr in the chat? F Detroit. That always works as well. Where is Don Burr? I don't know. I just don't know. All right, we're almost at 80 likes. I guess we'll keep it moving here. Here's what's coming up on Chicago Bears Now. The latest news and rumors coming out of minicamp, plus a couple of other stories. Live Q&A. Use hashtag Bears or Super Chat. We'll answer all your questions. Free agent targets that would start for the Bears. We're going to kind of take a different look at some players that the Bears could sign that I believe would start for this team. And then Bears Now on call-in. As soon as we end our YouTube and Rumble show, we will go live on the call-in app, take your calls, chop it up back and forth. We can talk Robert Quinn, minicamp, Justin Fields, free agency, whatever you guys want to talk about. We'll chop it all up on the Call-In app, so be sure to subscribe, chatsports.com/BearsCallin. All right, all that and more is coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. You're watching Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Shout out to Manscaped for sponsoring today's show. The best men's grooming products can be found at Manscaped. Use promo code BEARS20 to get 20% off plus free shipping. That's manscaped.com, promo code BEARS20. All right, we got a Bears rumors roundup and later on some minicamp updates, so stay tuned for that. Are the Bears happy with Justin Fields? I would say so. For Smokin' Jays, everything they tell us, everything that's being reported is that the Bears themselves are very happy with Justin Fields and where they're at. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN wrote an article, kind of hierarchy of the second-year quarterbacks. Justin Fields was 4th out of 6 based on league executives and coaches he talked to, but he did report in there that the Bears are happy with Fields' development. A couple of things he's worked on this offseason is tightening his release, working on his footwork, throwing on the run. Those have been some points of emphasis for this Bears coaching staff for Justin Fields. Now, these executives that kind of help put this list together, and I'll kind of rank them how they ranked them in a moment, said that, I don't know about how the Bears have done around Justin Fields. Here's an AFC scout in Fowler's article, quote, "God bless him and good luck. Good thing he can make things happen on his own. Long road ahead." So you've got that. NFC offensive coach said they aren't going to be great, but he's got big-time ability. He'll be able to make plays. That's kind of the realm I'm in. I don't think this team's going to be great, but he's got real upside, and I think he'll make some plays for this team. And I think something that continues to be overlooked by national media, coaches around the league, stuff like that, is I think this new coaching staff will help Fields. Do they need more around him? I think so. I think the O-line needs to be better. You could probably add another receiver. Those are valid points. But I think coaching and, different schemes should help Fields play better. How much? We'll have to wait and find out this season. Now I want to know, does Justin Fields have enough around him? And I'm talking skill player-wise, not coaching, skill players. Skill players, offensive line, that sort of thing. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Does Justin Fields have enough help around him? You guys decide in the comments section. You look at what he does have around him, or at least a couple of the positions that people would suggest he needs more at. Receivers, we've talked about it. Darnell Mooney, really good player. Pringle and Bayless Jones should contribute, but maybe they're being asked to do too much. The depth, questionable guys with St. Brown, Newsome, David Moore, Tajay Sharp, Pettis, etc. Obviously, the offensive line, which we'll talk about a little bit more today. This depth chart is very loose, especially with what happened at minicamp today. You could certainly add a guard and potentially a tackle to this unit as well. It's fair to question the pieces around Fields. I fully understand that. I've questioned it a little bit, but what I've consistently said is it's May, now it's June. It's early. If you get into week one and you have this exact same group around him and the Bears get clobbered by the Niners in week one, then we can talk more like, Ryan Poles probably should have done a little more, even though this is a long-term play for him. I think those things are valid, but I do think Justin Fields will be able to play better, and I do believe Fowler when he says, people have told him the Bears are happy with him at quarterback. Now, what was interesting is execs around the league ranked the second-year quarterbacks like this. Trevor Lawrence 1, Mac Jones 2, Zach Wilson 3, Justin Fields 4, Trey Lance 5, and Davis Mills 6. And apparently 4 through 6 was very close. So not really around the league do people believe Justin Fields could be the best quarterback from that class. I think he could be. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out over the next couple of years. Now, be sure to subscribe to Chicago Bears Now. If you love the Bears, we've got you covered, whether it's good news, bad news, juicy rumors, other stuff going on around this team, minicamp updates, which is what's happening right now. Hit that big red button and subscribe. We'll have you covered on a daily basis here on this channel, sometimes multiple videos per day. Yesterday, 2 videos. Today, we had a video earlier. We're going live now. Probably have a video later. We got you covered, youtube.com/BearsNow. All right, this is interesting, kind of stepping away from minicamp stuff. We'll get into more minicamp specific updates in a moment. Could the Bears sign Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo if they were to get released? I think this is fake news. I don't think this really makes sense. Now, the origin of this story isn't from a reporter, but rather from Vegas. BetOnline released some odds for Jimmy Garoppolo and Baker Mayfield, talking about where they could play. Now, reports have been out there that NFL executives believe Jimmy G and Baker could and possibly will eventually get cut. That caused BetOnline to release odds for each quarterback's next team, and the Bears were listed for both players, not as the top team to get one of these guys, but they were on the list. You look at Baker Mayfield's week 1 odds in terms of where he'll play. Carolina, a heavy favorite at plus 100. Those odds have probably increased after reports that have come today, with the Texans at plus 250, Seattle plus 400, Tampa plus 600, and then you look all the way down. Bears at plus 2,000. So obviously not great odds to get Baker, as he'll look to want to start somewhere. This was a little more interesting, though. Jimmy Garoppolo, Bears 5th best odds, but plus 1,200, not crazy. Like, those aren't super long odds in terms of someone landing somewhere. They're not great odds, but they're not crazy long either. I think this makes no sense. I don't know where this is coming from. I guess you just have to get more than a couple teams, and only Carolina, Seattle, Houston maybe are teams that could be looking for a starting quarterback, although I don't even think the Texans make sense. It makes more sense to play Davis Mills this year. Signing one of these guys makes no sense. I'll explain why in just a second. But shout out first to Manscaped for sponsoring today's show, because the Platinum Package that they dropped, it's a great deal with great products for 52% off. You know why? It comes with all of their best men's grooming tools, the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, which takes care of your nose and ears hairs. Also, the Ultra Premium Collection, which has shampoo and conditioner, body wash, body spray, all that good stuff. You get the boxers, the travel kit, crop gel, crop exfoliator. You get it all, basically all their top products for just $123.99, the 20% off from $154.99 with promo code BEARS20. But you're asking, okay, where's the 52% off? Well, if you buy all of these products separately, individually, it's over $250. You get it for $123.99 in this bundle for a limited time only. Go to manscaped.com, use promo code BEARS20, get the Platinum Package. It's a great Father's Day present. So for you ladies watching, if you want to get it for your husband or for your dad, for you teens watching college, you want to get it for your dad, that'll help as well. Manscaped.com, promo code is BEARS20. Back to this whole Jimmy G or Baker possibly ended up in Chicago. Unless Justin Fields were to suffer a serious injury, there's no chance this happens, right? Because what is the point of signing Jimmy Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield to back up Justin Fields? Trevor Siemian is a more than capable backup quarterback. Bringing in Baker or Jimmy G while Justin Fields is healthy only muddies the waters. That does not make sense. Siemian's a serviceable backup. If Fields misses a couple games here and there, he can start. Now, obviously, if Justin Fields had a serious injury in training camp and one of those guys were available and you wanted to try and compete this year, yes, Jimmy Garoppolo and Baker Mayfield are better than Trevor Siemian. I'm not saying Simeon's better. I'm saying that bringing a guy like that in here when you're trying to focus on Justin Fields and his development makes no sense. It doesn't make sense for the Bears, and it really doesn't make sense for Mayfield or Garoppolo, who feel like they are starting caliber quarterbacks in the National Football League. Now, just in a vacuum, I want to know. Let's say you do have to roll with one of these guys at quarterback. Who would you rather have? Who do you think is the better option? Type JG for Jimmy Garoppolo. Type BM for Baker Mayfield. I think I would go Jimmy G. He's won a lot of games, albeit at times the Niners have won in spite of him, but I think he's got better leadership attributes. Baker Mayfield's got real question marks in that department. JG for Jimmy G or BM for Baker Mayfield. All right, next up is Robert Quinn. Could he get traded? Of course, he did not show the mandatory minicamp today. I'm going to elevate this to 3 smoking J's. Now, that doesn't mean it's a full 75%. You know, you think of the 4 smoking J's. 0% for fake news, 25% for 1, 50 for 2. It doesn't really necessarily work that way. But there's got to be a little momentum here, right? And I've said for a while, 2 smoking J's, it could go either way. He's not attending Bears minicamp, according to Ian Rapoport, and that was, proven today. He dropped the report earlier, so I wanted to give him credit. The possibility of a trade at least has increased in the last 24 hours, right? I mean, I don't know what the percentages are, but for him to not be there, especially when Matt Eberflus came out today and said, we're not going to talk about guys not here. We expected him to be here. Ryan Poles will take care of that. The Bears fully expected him to show up, and he did not. So take that for what it's worth. Now, Robert Quinn is obviously a guy who's been connected to trade rumors because new regime, getting older, had a great year last year. You already traded Khalil Mack. It was already a possibility, but I think those odds have gone up a little bit for a couple reasons. One, he's not attending minicamp, and 2, the Bears have shown they want to get younger. Robert Quinn's going to be playing on his 32-age season this year. You've got young guys that can play. Travis Gibson, Al-Quadin Muhammad, Mario Edwards, Dominic Robinson, Charles Snowden could get an opportunity if you traded Robert Quinn. I'm not saying you should trade him just to play these guys. I'm saying maybe if he wants out, wants to contend, and the Bears think they can get something decent for him, maybe that's just best to rip the Band-Aid off. I don't know if he's frustrated or not, but I will say this. It's pretty clear Eberflus and the Bears expected him to be there today. Will Robert Quinn get traded? Let me know. Type T for trade, type K for keep. I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Will Robert Quinn get traded? Now, if you want further analysis of him holding out and skipping minicamp, we dropped a video earlier today on the channel, so subscribe, go to the videos tab, check that out. Robert Quinn not attending minicamp. We have full details, and I have more analysis of what that could mean for Quinn and the Bears moving forward. So go check that out, youtube.com/Bears. Now, all right, some other minicamp updates. We'll kind of go one by one here. Jalen Johnson, pick 6 off of Justin Fields. I don't know if this is an update or just something that happened. I think the main takeaway of this is the Bears' defense is ahead of the offense right now, and that really shouldn't be surprising, and I don't even think it necessarily should be concerning. We've heard about the offense having good days. Now, I would like to see the offense bounce back tomorrow. You don't want them to lose all 3 days of minicamp, but I think it's fair to say the defense is ahead of the offense right now, which isn't a surprise. Sure, it's a new defensive scheme, but a lot of those key players are still on that side of the football. Bears are installing a whole new offense. That's not surprising. I might actually be more concerned if the offense was ahead right now. So, Jalen Johnson, pick 6 of Fields. If anything, hey, Johnson's in a groove now. Strong finish to OTAs, strong start to minicamp. Number 2, Dakota Dozier carted off. Got carted off while he was working at left guard with the second-team offense, but he's been a contender to start at right guard with Sam Mustipher. Here's the deal. I don't know the significance of the injury, but regardless, even if he's fully healthy, you need a right guard. You don't have one. Mustipher cannot be the answer. Dozier, no. Zach Thomas, a rookie, okay. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. You got to go out and get a right guard, in my opinion. Unless you're going to kick in Tevin Jenkins or Larry Borom. We'll kind of discuss that a little bit more in a sec, but that would be the only exception, in my opinion, in terms of the right guard spot, because you got to get better there. Kyler Gordon, not practicing. He was on the exercise bike. Matt Eberflus declined to comment. He is not required to discuss injuries right now. He did indicate, I would say, that it's not serious, like he'll be at training camp, so maybe he won't practice the next couple of days, but I do think he'll be out there at training camp. Obviously, if we get to training camp and he's not, that is a different conversation, but he was not out there, so did want to mention that. And then, final one here. I think this might be the most significant of everything that happened at day one of minicamp. Braxton Jones and Larry Borom were the starting tackles. Jones on the left side, Borom on the right side. This feels at least somewhat significant because that was the combination that finished OTAs, which meant Tevin Jenkins was working with the second team. It's June. I do want to emphasize that. Matt Eberflus said at OTAs, and he said it again today, they're still working on different combinations to try and find the best 5. But maybe Tevin Jenkins isn't the answer. And that would be disappointing because I was high on him coming out. I like the pick by Ryan Pace, trading up to get him in the second round. If it doesn't work out, I won't blame Pace for that necessarily because I thought he could have gone round 1. He fell to early mid-round 2. But for him to not be getting first-team reps, Braxton Jones, a 5th-round rookie, is working at left tackle. I don't know. That's a little worrisome. So I think that is the biggest takeaway from day one of Bears minicamp. Will Robert Quinn get traded? Let's get some shout-outs going here. And then we're going to get into a mailbag here in a second. Sorry, I had a little scratch on my knee down there. Will Robert Quinn get traded? Thomas Gage goes, dude, I swear Graham's beard goes from stubble to full grizzly mode in like a week. It's been a few weeks. Come on. By the way, I got a few comments on my at-home video last night saying shave the beard, clean it up. Is that how we feel? Do I need to get rid of it? I thought you guys liked it. Why for yes and for no? Why being yes, I should shave it, and being no, I shouldn't shave it? Let me know. Get some shout-outs on Quinn, though. Danger says trade. JF says trade. Trade later in the season. Chris says no. Concept says yes. I'm going to make this the live poll question, actually. One second. Someone says no one cares about the beard. Hey, that's perfectly fine. I feel like I don't think it's something you guys should really be that concerned with. I was a little surprised when I read the comments. So, all right. I'll see what the live poll results are. 82% say no early on, but we'll get more votes coming in there. Talk to me, Jack. What's the problem? Okay. Let's see. Jordan says, no, I love the beard. Harrison, what city are you in? Chat Sports is based in Dallas, so that is where I am. So unfortunately, I don't get to go to the practices and see all this stuff for myself, but there's people out there I trust, so we've got that going for us. Nick says, thank you for the shout-out. You bet. Rob Dub says, no. Keep the beard. All right. We'll see. Get the beard oil game going. It's always a good time. Let's see. Midway says trade for DK. Give them Quinn in a second. I mean, I'd do that trade. I don't think Seattle would, but I would do that trade. All right, mailbag time. Use hashtag Bears or Super Chat. Get your questions in. Remember, we're going to go live on Callin after YouTube Live, so keep that in mind as well. Chatsports.com/BearsCallin. We will be sure to go live for that. But right now it is mailbag time here on YouTube and Rumble. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. We'll answer as many questions as you possibly can. Welcome to Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Harrison Graham. It is mailbag time, so get those questions in. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat, and we will answer as many as we possibly can. Scott Osborne with the Bears changing to a 4-3. The nickelback would only be on the field in passing situations, so who will fill that spot? Would Thomas Graham be a good option? So it's going to be Tavon Young or Thomas Graham who's going to start at nickel. I would give Tavon Young the slight edge. Being a vet and being a guy when healthy has been, I would say, a top 10 nickel in the NFL. He's obviously missed a lot of games due to injuries, but I think Thomas Graham will get an opportunity. Adam Johns reported that he's competing for that spot, so we'll see what happens, but I would give the edge to Tavon Young. Tyler Smith, trade Robert Quinn for a first and a seventh. I don't think you're getting a first for Quinn. Based on his production last year, you would think you might, but he's 32. He's kind of had this topsy-turvy career where one year he's great, the next year not so much. Also, his contract's not great. It's got like 3 years and $51 million left on it, so don't think you can get a first. I think if you got a second, you'd be like, let's take it and move on. But I'm not convinced the Bears have been offered that. JF1, Bears forever, and then we'll get to that super chat. Trade Quinn to the Seahawks for DK. I mean, you're not straight up, that would not get it done. Quinn in a second? Maybe? Although, why would Seattle want a 32-year-old pass rusher when they're rebuilding themselves? It sounds good on the surface, but I don't think it's, realistic for Chicago to expect Seattle to take a trade of that caliber. Dr. Don Kiddick, Ph.D., is Aaron Rodgers retiring after this year? One can hope, Doc. One can hope. We'll see. He has hinted the last couple of years and did so again recently that, retirement is not far off. Maybe this year will go poorly with their garbage receivers, and he'll say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to ride into the sunset on Blue Dragon or whatever his new girlfriend's name is. I can't keep up with the guy anymore. The guy just gets weirder by the day. But I don't know. I think it's possible, but who the hell knows at this point. I'll say this. We always say FGB, which we can get those going in the comments. But FAR as well. F Aaron Rodgers. Screw Aaron. He's the smartest guy in the room, or at least he thinks so. But you know what's true? He always loses big games in the playoffs. So get the FARs going down below. We got Larry with the $5 super. H, you haven't been able to predict anything negative about the Bears players. Do you feel that's normal for a guy leading a team channel? First of all, I would not say I haven't said negative things. I've said this offensive line needs work and they need to sign players. I've also said that this is a new regime and games haven't even started yet. I mean, do you want me to say, Justin Fields is going to throw 25 picks and he's hopelessly screwed and, this and that and the other? I guess I could say that. I've also said I don't think this defensive tackle group's that good. So, I'm trying to be half glass full with this new regime while also taking a look at the big picture, which I don't think everything's about the 2022 season. but I understand what you're saying. There's certainly concerns on this team. I'm just trying to have a bit of a positive approach, but I don't think I've stood up here and acted like everything is roses and ponies either. Like, I don't think I've done that. Sangray Kim, $5 super. Just realized drafting Roquan was a failure. Darius Leonard was picked 28 picks after Roquan. Now it's pretty clear Darius is on another level. I wouldn't say Roquan being the pick was a failure. Maybe he's a tick below Darius Leonard, but Darius Leonard's like the best backer in the game, arguably. Roquan's pretty damn close. Like, if he's a tick below Leonard and Fred Warner and a couple others, okay, it's still a good pick. But you're always negative, so that's not really a surprise. Okay, have you guys subscribed to Bears Now on Callin? Type Y for yes, type in for no. If you're typing Y for yes, that's awesome. We go live every single Tuesday after our YouTube live shows. If you're typing in for no, it's one of two things. One, you don't know what Callin is, or two, you're just not interested. Here's the deal. Answer yes or no. Also, here's some reasons why you should follow us on Callin. Well, explaining what it is. Audio social podcasting app. That sounds really fancy. It's Twitter Spaces, but better, basically. There's a caller queue. You guys can hop in, join the show. We can chop it up back and forth. You ask me your questions. There's also a live chat feature if you don't want to call in, you just want to listen, but interact in the live chat. That's a lot of fun. It's your chance to call in and talk to me directly. We go back and forth. We have a good time. We don't always have to agree. We can disagree. You can shoot me a question. I can shoot you an answer, and we have a conversation. I like these live Q&As on YouTube, but I like hearing from you guys as well. That's what can happen on Callin. So subscribe, chatsports.com/BearsCallin. There's also a link to download on iOS and Android in the description of this video. Plus, if you're watching on a Fire Stick or in some other way on a TV, maybe you got your HDMI plugged into your laptop or whatever, take a photo of this. It's a QR code. It'll redirect you to Bears Now on Callin. You can subscribe right there. I will say this. If you subscribe to Callin on your computer, not your phone, you can still listen to us, but you can't actually call in. You have to be on a mobile device to call into the show. So chatsports.com/BearsCallin. Check it out. We go live every Tuesday after YouTube Live. Coach Nagy back in the chat. Do you ever work? Trevor Siemian starts 1.5 games this season. Over under. That's a good question because, I don't love how this offensive line sits, so that could lead to more possibility of injury. But I think the way this offense will run, and just Fields, picking things up quicker, he'll take less hits. I'll be optimistic. I'll go under. I know Larry's not going to be happy with that answer, but trying to be optimistic here. But look, it's possible Siemian has to start some, just like any other quarterback in the NFL. Chi-Town 65, Harrison, forget A-Rod. Dub Bears. F-A-R. F-A-R. Get it going in the chat. Appreciate the super. Don Burr, get the FDETs going. He's saying FCHI, stealing my bit here. Type FDET in the comments right now. Drown Donnie Burr out, and let's make it happen. Danger, could Jenkins on second team signify he is likely to play right guard? I don't really feel that way because if that's the case, he needs to get reps at guard. I think that's assuming a lot that he can just kick inside and he's good to go. If he hasn't worked it as a tackle, which I'm not saying that's the case, but if that's the case, why are we to believe that, he'll just kick inside and be a star there, or even just a starting caliber player? He needs work at guard if they're going to play him at right guard. I'll say that. Mustafa, what are some trade options from teams in cap trouble that can trade a player for Quinn? Trade a player? So like a player-for-player trade? You guys have thrown the DK idea for it. How about this? How about a Terry McLaurin for Quinn in a pick? Because Washington may want to add another pass rusher if they're worried about keeping Montez Sweat long term. So maybe that could work. I don't know why they would want to trade McLaurin, but player-for-player trades are a lot harder in the NFL than they are for, say, in the NBA. Subscribe to Bears Now if you love this team and if you're enjoying what you're seeing on your screen. If you want to support me, it's free. Hit that subscribe button. Link is down below, youtube.com/BearsNow. More news, rumors, updates, Q&As all off season long. Mark 485, you think Pettis could become a number 2 wide receiver if he puts in the work? That would surprise me. Pettis is fighting for a roster spot. That would be quite the jump to go from the outside looking in to actually being a number 2 or even a number 3. I think if you're Dante Pettis, like, make the team and be like a number 4. That would be good strides for him. I don't think he's going to be a number 2. I liked him coming out of college. He played well as a rookie, but he's been pretty spotty since then. I think that is way too high of expectations. The Gabe, do the Bears get Terry McLaurin? I mean, I'd love it. I like Scary Terry. He's a stud. He's averaged over 1,000 yards through his 3 seasons playing with 8 different quarterbacks. Sounds like he'd fit right in with the Bears. So I'd like to see it. Do I think it's realistic? Not necessarily. Is a free agent next year, though, so maybe that could be more of an opportunity. H. Bark, over under 1,200 yards from Mooney with the new, hopefully, competent coaching staff and offense. I think that, 1,100 feels like more of an over-under. He had over 1,000 last year with the garbage offense. I think 1,200 is possible, but still installing the offense, still early. If he goes for over 1,200 yards, H. Bark, he is established as a true number 1 in this league. Tumblr Doge is dead, unfortunately. What are your thoughts on Khalil Herbert next year? I feel like he was fantastic. We can give him the ball. If you're talking about next year as in like 2023, my thoughts are he could start if David Montgomery's gone. If you're talking about next year as in 3 months from now, this season, I think you build off last year. He gets some opportunities as the number 2 back behind Monty, and hopefully he takes advantage of those and at least gives the Bears something to think about in terms of extending Monty or not. That should be Khalil Herbert's goal. His goal should be sending a message to Ryan Poles and this coaching staff like, hey, if Monty comes back, cool, but if not, you can trust me being the starter. That should be his goal for this season. Appreciate the super. Roquan Smith for Defensive Player of the Year. Hopefully, that'd be awesome. It's harder for a linebacker to win it because they don't put like the loud stats up like a corner can with interceptions, or like a pass rusher can with sacks. But let's say he had multiple picks, multiple sacks, ton of tackles, just flies around, then who knows? Bears would probably have to be pretty good for him to win the award, though. Who would you trade Quinn to? It's hard to say. I might do a Robert Quinn trade destinations video. Depending on when you're watching this, maybe I've already done that video. But there's some teams out there that could use a pass rusher. Stay tuned. Alan Melendez, will you make a way too soon 53-man roster? Yes. After minicamp, probably early next week, I will do that video. Maybe this week, but it's a busy week with updates coming out of minicamp. I want to take advantage of that and get you guys caught up on the news. But yes, we will do a 53-man roster prediction video. Maybe that'll be, I think I'm working Sunday. Maybe that'll be Sunday's video. I think that could work. Okay, if you made it this far in the video, spam squad in the comments. That means you're a loyal one to Bears Now. You're a fan of my work, and it means you're a subscriber. So you got to be subscribed to Spam Squad. If you haven't subbed, make it happen. YouTube.com/Bears Now. Type squad if you made it this far in the video. Appreciate that. We'll get some shout-outs for the squads. The OGs here. Thomas says squad. Phillips squad. Tyler squad. Ryan squad. We got Fred Bear saying squad. Nick, Scott, Danger, Alex, Jacob. We got Ruben saying squad. Matt Nagy's impersonator, I should say. I don't think it's actually him. Harrison's my guy. He knows where we're at. Classic Nagy talk. We know where we're at. Jay says squad. Cody squad. William says squad. Bill, Tim, Joey, Cody. RJ says, like your channel, just don't like the Bears team. Hey, it's your free will to have whatever feelings you have. But appreciate you guys subscribing. Matt Nagy says, impersonator? Don't you have practice, coach? I don't know. All right, we have one more segment to go. Top free agent targets that I believe would start for this team this year. But want to remind you guys, we're going to go live on the Call-In app right after our YouTube stream, Rumble stream as well. Link's going to be in the live chat. Coop's going to get that in there for you guys. Spam Coop in the chat. He's going to get that link in there to subscribe, and we'll be live over there. Chatsports.com/BearsCallin. That is chatsports.com/BearsCallin. We'll be live here 10, 15 minutes, probably a little bit before 4 is when we will go live on the Call-In app. Take all your questions, and after a couple of minutes, we'll sign off on YouTube and Rumble. So we'll be live exclusively on Call-In, so stay tuned for that. Links in there a few times. Go subscribe, check it out. I want to answer or hear all your questions and talk Bears back and forth with you. Before we get into today's video, if you hate the Packers and you can't stand Green Bay and that fraud Aaron Rodgers, type FGB in the comments and like the video. Hit the thumbs up icon as well. I'm asking you to do two things, but you should, because the hatred for Green Bay has to run in your blood to be a fan of this team. FGB, like the video. Remember, month of June, all about likes at Chat Sports. Let's beat the competition, and as always, FGB. Welcome into Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Harrison Graham. On today's show, we're going to do free agent targets, but with a twist. 10 free agents that I believe would start for the Bears right now. So we'll take a look at who some of those guys are in just a moment. But the latest in the Bears offseason, Chicago's got money to make some moves, especially after cutting Jeremiah Attachu just under $24 million in projected cap space. Now, Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon's money hasn't been accounted for yet, so once they officially sign, you're at about $22 million, but you still have plenty of room there. Several big-name free agents are out there, guys that I think could contribute, if not start for this team. The question is how much does Ryan Poles want to spend in terms of, okay, we want to get a couple of guys that can help this year, but also roll over some money to next year on the salary cap to have even more money to spend in 2023. I'll say this. I still think a move or two could happen and probably will happen, right? I don't think the Bears are going to roll into the regular season with over $20 million in cap space. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that'll happen. I think they will use at least a few million bucks of that money to maybe add an offensive lineman, a receiver, defensive tackle. There's several positions the Bears could add a player or two, so I think that's definitely a possibility. Now, you're in charge. You're Ryan Poles. You're making the roster decisions here. Name a free agent that you think would start for the Bears that you want to go sign right now. Who's that guy out there? I don't care what the player is, what the position is. Name a free agent that you think would start for the Bears right now. All right, 10 free agent targets that I believe would start for this football team. I'm not, I put numbers down there, but it's not necessarily in order of value, so keep that in mind. Eric Fisher, left tackle. Listen, if Braxton Jones is getting first-team reps at OTAs and minicamp, that probably means you don't have a ton of confidence at left tackle. That's just the reality, which is why I also will mention Dwayne Brown here, who's a free agent as well. Look, Eric Fisher, Dwayne Brown, these are not world beaters. They're probably past their prime, but they can be serviceable starting left tackles. Honestly, like what you got from Jason Peters last year, who actually played pretty damn well. I think it's pretty clear the Bears are not sold at what they have at left tackle right now. They flipped Tevin Jenkins back to right tackle during OTAs. And then Larry Borum was getting first-team reps there. Well, Braxton Jones for a couple of practices got left tackle work there. And then Borum was over to right tackle. And Tevin Jenkins was with the second team. Clearly, the tackle position is up for grabs still. That has not been finalized. Not saying it needs to be finalized in June, but my point being, if you want to take the stress out of it, you could just go sign Dwayne Brown or Eric Fisher, and then you'd be good to go at left tackle. Wouldn't be a stud over there, but for a one-year Band-Aid, I think you could do a lot worse. Now, who do you think is going to be this team's starting left tackle? I don't think it'll be Tevin Jenkins. I think the Bears have decided he's going to play on the right side, whether it's tackle or guard, whether he's starting or a backup, we'll see. Do you think it's going to be Larry Borum? I would give him still the favorite early on here. Type LB. If you think it's going to be someone else, type other, or you can or type O for other, or type another name in the comments like Fisher or Dwayne Brown or someone else. LB for Borum or O for other. Our next free agent target that I believe could start for the Chicago Bears. How about Ndamukong Suh? Listen, say what you want about Suh. His dirty antics in the past, this and that, yada, yada, yada. Played for the Lions, we know. He can still play, though. He can still play at a pretty high level. He's been a key contributor for Tampa, played well for the Rams a few years ago. 12 sacks in the last 2 years at defensive tackle. You're telling me he would not start at the one tech next to Justin Jones? I think he would. I think he's better than Mike Pennell, who you just brought on, and Kyrus Tonga, and some of these other guys that are decent rotation options. Again, this video is about guys who I think would start. I think Ndamukong Suh would start. How about Larry Ogunjobi, who is more of a 3-tech tackle? Listen, if he's healthy and passes a physical, he's a better player than Justin Jones. Now, the beauty of it is you could slide Jones over to the other defensive tackle spot. He's kind of a tweener in terms of size, but I think he could play next to Ogunjobi at that spot as a decent run stopper. Larry Ogunjobi last year was terrific. He had 7 sacks as an interior pass rusher, 16 quarterback hits. There is a reason that Ryan Poles was ready to invest 3 years and $40 million in Larry Ogunjobi. Obviously, a failed physical threw a wrench into things, but he's still out there. He's still available. Now, maybe that tells us he's not healthy, but cheap 1-year deal, prove it year, I think it could work out if he can pass that physical. You could slide him into Jones' spot. Jones could kick over. And then the rotation of guys you have with Tonga, Blackson, Pennell's now in the mix, which I need to throw him on the depth chart. Kamara, a couple other guys. I absolutely think something like that could work for Chicago. Obviously, his health is the biggest question mark when it comes to Ogunjobi. Bears fans, our goal still continues, trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by training camp. Getting a little closer, brick by brick here, just over 1,600 away, as we first have to cross 49,000 subs to get to 50,000. Can we get there? Got about 5-6 weeks, depending on when the Bears start training camp. Let me know if we can get there. Subscribe. It's up to you guys. A lot of you guys already have sub, but if you haven't, daily videos on this channel. Let's make it happen. The latest news and rumors on the Chicago Bears. All right, so let's go to the offensive side here. Back to it, I should say. Emmanuel Sanders. Now, there's a few receivers you could pencil in here. Maybe you think, Will Fuller could start, and I think if healthy, that would probably be the case. Maybe a Julio or a Cole Beasley. I opted to go with Sanders because Sanders is still a pretty good slot receiver. He's a true pro, a vet. I think if you plugged him in, there's an argument that he's better than Byron Pringle. Now, I'm not saying that's for sure the case, but even if not, I think he's probably a top 3 receiver for this team. Now, maybe Pringle and Velus Jones would be better, but I think if he signed today and you had to play in a game right away, who would you trust more, Emmanuel Sanders or Pringle or Velus Jones? I think a lot of people would say Emmanuel Sanders, just saying. He's a guy that's been really good for a long time. Tyke Tolbert knows him from his time in Denver. Now, I'm not necessarily saying you have to go sign Sanders. I'm simply saying a guy like him could help you out. It's as simple as that. Follow us on the Call-In app. Hit that subscribe button over there when you go to chatsports.com/BearsCallin. It's an audio social podcasting app. We go live every single week on Tuesdays after our YouTube streams. There's a caller queue. You guys hop in it. I take your calls. We talk back and forth. It's a whole lot of fun. It's Twitter Spaces on crack. That's what I call it here. Your chance to call in and connect with me. My chance to connect with all of you. There's a link to download on iOS and Android in the comments and in the description as well. If you're watching on TV right now on a Fire Stick or something like that, take a picture of this QR code. It'll redirect you to Bears Now on Callin. That way you can subscribe right there. Let's continue to grow because I want to do some post-game shows during the 2022 season. All right, 5 more guys here. Quentin Spain, former guard from the Bengals. I think right guard's your biggest hole right now. Unless Tevin Jenkins is going to kick in there or Larry Borum, you got to get a guard, in my opinion. I think Quentin Spain's the best option on the market. I think he would start for this team, so I would go sign him. Darrell Williams is a tackle guard flex guy. He's played both positions. Now, he's played a little bit more right tackle in his career, but he's played both, and he's played both at least at serviceable levels. Now, he's not a stud, and really none of these guys are stars. There's a reason they're unsigned at this point in free agency. It's either injury-related or they're just not as good as they once were. But I think he'd be an upgrade at right guard, and if you're unsure about right tackle too, he could start there. I mean, at this point, left tackle, right guard are all undecided. That's just a fact. Williams can play right guard or right tackle. Don't think you want him playing left tackle. But his versatility is valuable, and I think he'd have a chance to start on this team. What's the bigger need for the Bears? I think it's got to be O-line with this recent development of Braxton Jones getting reps at left tackle. Now, maybe it's because they're high on him. They think he's going to be a beast, but I kind of think it's that no one's taken stranglehold of the offensive line spots. Wide receiver or O-line, type WR for receiver, OL for offensive line. What do you think is the Bears' bigger need? Let's go to Anthony Barr next, who's dealt with some injuries the past couple of years, but the Bears should be familiar with him as he spent a lot of time with Minnesota in recent years. I think Barr could start at Sam linebacker. You've got Roquan Smith and Nick Morrow, who are going to be your will and middle linebacker. It's somewhat undecided who's going to play where there, but that can be somewhat interchangeable. Now, you're going to be in nickel a lot, but Matthew Adams is not going to start. I mean, I just don't think that's a good option there. I mean, maybe Jack Sambor, the UDFA, or Caleb Johnson can start at Sam, but a guy like Anthony Barr, I think, could easily be your second or third best backer, and I would much rather go in that direction. Now, these last two guys are kind of wild cards for obvious reasons, and we'll get to number 10 in a second, but number 9, Odell Beckham Jr. No crap he would start for this team if he was healthy. He's not healthy. That's the problem, right? And, I mean, problem number 2 beyond this, whether any of these guys are realistic or not, I think some are more than others. Him signing with the Bears makes no sense for him. Unless the Bears just want to throw crazy money at him, he's going to sign with a contender. He'll probably go back to L.A. And just run it back with them once he's healthy. But if he was healthy, he would obviously start for this team. I mean, he would at worst be the number 2 receiver for the Bears. So, wanted to mention him because he does fit the bill of the title of this video, 10 free agents that would start. The problem is he's not healthy, so that's the reality of the situation. Now, would you sign OBJ for this Bears team if he was healthy? The answer still may be no, because this team may not be ready to contend this year. Type S for sign, type P for pass. What would you do if OBJ was healthy? All right, number 10, another wild card, J.C. Tretter. The reason he's a wild card is the Bears are pretty fully committed to Lucas Patrick at center at this point. But if you're talking about guys that would start for this team, you could sign J.C. Tretter to start at center and move Lucas Patrick to right guard. I don't think that's going to happen at this point. Quite frankly, I don't even know if it makes sense to do that. Now, obviously, you'd be getting 2 starters out of it instead of just 1, which is what you have right now in Lucas Patrick. But Patrick and Fields are building that center quarterback continuity. Do you want to change that in middle of June or in July at training camp? That's probably fair to question if you want to do that. But in terms of guys that would start, I think Tretter would start, and then you could put Patrick at right guard. I just don't think it's going to happen at the end of the day. So there you go. 10 free agents that I believe would start for this team if the Bears signed them. Name a free agent that you think would start for the Bears that you would like to go out and sign. I want to hear it from you guys down in the comments right now. All right, we'll get some shout-outs here, and then here in just a few moments, we'll go live on call-in. We'll go ahead and go live at 3:55, so here in about a minute and a half or so. And once we go live, producer Coop, or executive producer Coop, will get the updated link in there, and you guys can join me. Let's see. Will Cody be back in 23? I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not. T.Y. Hilton or Will Fuller? Yep. I think those are 2 fair ones. A.J. Green, I think he re-signed with the Cardinals, didn't he? I think he's off the market. Quentin Spain, that's the one to me. Get a freaking right guard. J. Nev, I can't start at left tackle. Not strong enough. Turner or Spain? Paleo type in squad, what's good? Healthy OBJ, wide receiver 1 if on the Bears? Possibly, yeah. I think Darnell Mooney would be in the conversation, but it's very possible. All right, we're about to go live here on the Call-In app. I'll get the link to the page in there, and then we'll get the updated link in there once we go live here in just a few moments. But go check us out, chatsports.com/BearsCall. We're going to take your phone calls. We'll talk back and forth. It's a really user-friendly app. It's your opportunity to call me, talk some Bears. There's a lot of stuff going on. Minicamp, updates, Robert Quinn not showing up, the offense struggling a bit today. Plenty of stuff to get into, so if you want to join us, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and go live here in just a second here. Let me pull it up. So here we go. Clicking live on Call-In. We'll stay live on YouTube and Rumble for a couple minutes. Let the audience kind of get a feel for what to expect. But if you're just seeing us live on Call-In, appreciate everybody coming in here. We'll take a call or two in a second. and show YouTube and Rumble what we're all about. And then we'll sign off on YouTube and Rumble. Chatsports.com/BearsCallin. That's chatsports.com/BearsCallin. Producer Coop's going to get that updated link in there. And then we will be good to go. In the meantime, you can just click the link that I am putting in there, and you should be able to find it. Appreciate everybody hopping in here. We got Zach, Chicago Sports, Bill, Nick, Nate, Paleo, Jay, a couple other people in there as well. If anybody wants to hop in and call into the show, we will take your calls here so we can make all of that happen. Feel free to hop into the live chat as well. Let's go ahead and take a call here before we sign off on YouTube and Rumble. We got Paleo in the queue. Paleo, what's up? Welcome in. There's a little mic button in the bottom right. There you go. And you're good to talk. What's up?
Hey, Harrison. Hope you're having a good day. My question is, would it be possible for you and Chat Sports to bring in a Bears player to interview on a future show at all?
It's possible, and you're coming in a little low. I don't know if that's on our end or your end, but we've done interviews with some of our channels in the past. The problem is, Paleo, and anyone else who's curious, is number one, you typically have to go through an agent, which is fine. I understand that protocol of having to do that. But number two, it takes forever, and then people cancel on you. We've had athletes cancel on us in the past, so you kind of do all this preparation, and then they kind of bail on you. So those are a couple reasons. I mean, I'm not opposed if, I've reached out to a couple guys in the past. It just hasn't worked out, but I'm definitely interested in doing that. I'd love to talk to these guys and find out more about them and talk some Bears football with them. But, it's not really our wheelhouse of what we do, but kind of a long-winded answer to a question that, believe me, we've explored before. But the reality is it's kind of a hassle to get these guys on to find a time that works for everybody. And now with the new regime, it's even harder to get access to these guys. So that would be my answer to that question.
Okay, thank you. Hope you guys can work something out then.
All right, appreciate it. Take one more here. We got Zach. What's up, Zach? How you been doing?
Hey, Harrison, doing well. How about yourself?
Good, doing well. Just enjoying this Texas heat.
Yeah, I'll be back there in a couple weeks, so can partake in that as well.
Exactly.
Got a quick question for you here from fantasy football perspective, as me not being a big Bears fan. If some people like to bucket teams when they're going into a fantasy football season, like, oh, you can more or less expect what was seen last year. Bucket one, bucket two is like they'll regress, or three they could be sleeper, like try to buy that offense, like buy, sell, or hold, basically. Sure. If you had to bucket the Bears, and currently right now I'm in the selling camp just because I've looked into Eberflus a little bit, and I'm looked at Fields from last year, and I'm looking at Mooney and Montgomery.
Yeah.
I'm in an auction or salary cap draft, so you have to be really prudent with your money. I'm just curious if you could, that was a long-winded question, if you could give your 2 cents on if I'm off base there, if you had to pick a bucket that they'd be in, what you think's going to go on with this offense.
I think there's some value for a couple of the guys. I don't know what Mooney would cost in an auction type of draft, but I think he's going to have a pretty big year. I think Cole Kmet, the tight end, could be a pretty good value tight end, in the late rounds for fairly cheap. He had 60 catches, over 600 yards last year. Didn't have a touchdown, but the prior regime was obsessed with trying to force-feed Jimmy Graham in the red zone. That obviously won't be a problem this year. So maybe he could be like a deep sleeper tight end. I think Mooney will be a good fantasy player. Montgomery should have, I think he could approach 8 to 10 touchdowns with a couple of receiving ones as well. So maybe he's the best overall fantasy option. If you wanted to get Fields as a deep backup and just kind of sit on him and see what he does, maybe, but I wouldn't necessarily sit here and say, draft Justin Fields and expect him to be a high-level starter in fantasy.
Yeah, it's a 2 QB league, which is the only reason why Fields is on my radar.
Sure.
And then I know you got to get to the show, but the last follow-up question is, you mentioned Montgomery. I know last year, with the injuries, Khalil Herbert stepped in. I think Damian Williams. Does Montgomery have a monopoly of this backfield, or is it kind of up for grabs?
It's just hard to say with a new regime. I mean, he's definitely the starter. There's no doubt. But I do think Khalil Herbert's going to get touches. So I think you should keep that in mind. But it's not like this is going to be, I don't know, the Chiefs, for example, and they're probably just going to go heavy rotation. Like, I do think that Montgomery will get 70%, 75% of the carries. So, but new offensive staff, new staff as a whole, it's very possible it looks completely different than what we're accustomed to in terms of kind of percentages of touches and whatnot. So we'll see. I would say Monty's probably the safest guy to draft from this Bears offense in terms of production, but there's definitely some question marks with this team in general, but especially fantasy-wise.
Cool. Thanks, Harrison. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, if you're on YouTube Rumble still, we're going to sign off here. Appreciate everybody for joining us. We're going to be exclusively live on Callin. So get over to Callin right now, chatsports.com/BearsCallin. Signing off here on YouTube and on Rumble. Want to answer all your questions. Lots to talk about. Training camp or minicamp stuff, Robert Quinn, whatever your questions are, we will answer as many of them as we can. So get over to chatsports.com/BearsCallin. We're officially going to sign off here on YouTube and on Rumble. We'll see you guys soon.